Alright, time for another DraftPhysics.com video presentation. So an update video. It's been a little while, and so we start, I think, at the momentum video. It should be on my list here somewhere. Ah, yes, MV momentum. So that's where we left off. And so I did a couple of comment videos. Don't remember them really, but I'm sure I was making perfectly rational arguments, blah, blah, blah. Then came a video sort of inspired by Piro, I suppose, some little offhanded, simple remark he made, claiming to be some sort of expert. And these experts can't even figure out that every single piece of evidence indicates that you can understand gravity as a completely time-dependent force, not a distant-dependent force. And all the other forces fit into the same category in that it completely matters how long pressure is applied will tell you how much something's going to move. And it's always time dependent. And it's the rational way to understand what's happening with gravity. Gravity is just about how long you're in the gravity. And you can feel that by just holding something against gravity. And you can feel that you're holding it against gravity. And there's a certain consistent amount of gravity that you're holding something up against. And it makes perfectly good sense. It gets perfectly correct answers. Again, they never proved Newton or Descartes or Galileo wrong. They just said it, and with no evidence. And so I've pointed out how there's no evidence, and then I've done this whole lever thing and explained it over and over again. And I'm now sick of it, in the sense that I'm not going to do that anymore until you explain. So I'm not going to accept anyone calling me sympathetic with any idea of free energy, because momentum doesn't create free energy. There's no circumstance where you can claim it. It doesn't happen. Ever. Your theory does it, and it does it overtly with a very simple device. And I've illustrated it over and over. I'm going to illustrate it one more time. And until you counter-argue and explain how levers don't work that way, you just don't have any right to call anybody else an advocate of free energy, because you are. It's just a fact. And I'm done with your empty rhetoric. You'll never stay on the subject. You never respond to the arguments made. There's just no point. So, especially if it's the iron guy who typed a new comment, well, fuck you, okay? You keep typing irrational and senseless accusations, I'm just going to block you from the website, okay? If that's what you want, that's what I'll do. Because I've already answered your nonsense. I've already illustrated. I've always drawn it. And you aren't paying any attention to anything said in the videos. They counter every one of your arguments. And I've done it repeatedly. Okay, anyway. So then there was belligerent faith. That was probably the Ian Gosling thing. And the last two videos have sort of been on that. And it's... again, the argument's so clear, and there's just no excuse for you to keep evading it. So we'll go to the argument, and I'll illustrate it one more time. And I really shouldn't have to keep doing that. So this is a thing called a triple beam balance. It doesn't matter what you call it. It's just a lever, okay? And you slide weights further and further out on the lever, and it makes them heavier and heavier. So it's more mass moving more distance. And you can see that in the movement of the lever. You can see that in the movement of the device as the person plays with it. You can see that the arm on the outside moves a lot more than the arm on the inside. Let's get him to do that. Blah, blah, blah. And these weights, you put extra weights on further out, and the extra weights weigh more. The further out on the lever you put them, the more they weigh. So here's the fulcrum, and this is twice as far as that is from the fulcrum, blah, blah, blah. You can do the math and figure out you can put a small mass and you'll create a large amount of weight for the smaller mass. So you can see it oscillating. Oscillates little here, oscillates big over here. Really not that complicated. And as you slide the little weights to further distances out, they effectively become heavier and heavier and heavier. And that's how you create the balance. And you can know exactly how much weight you have put on the scale relative to what's on the other side. And you could just mark the notches and it'll tell you when you've balanced the weight with a much lighter weight placed further out on the arm. And not complicated, and the rule is just overtly obvious. Okay, so that's enough of that. The function. There should be no dispute about what the function of the lever is. So as long as we can agree that's the function. The part further out moves more than the part in close. So as long as that's an accepted truth, you're done with the argument, because you have to concede what the lever does, which is it converts slow-moving things into fast-moving things, or fast-moving things into slow-moving things. And the fact is, it comes out perfect for momentum, and it doesn't make any sense at all for kinetic energy. And that's the truth. All right, so get rid of that, and we shall draw. All right. So one last explanation. Simple, lever, fulcrum, weight close, weight further out. Okay, so it can be understood this is twice as far out and it's one mass, and this is a 2 mass. Are you with me so far? All right, this will move a certain distance, this much distance. This, in the same distance that moves that distance, this will move this distance, twice the distance. So with every movement of this moves twice the speed. So whatever velocity you move this end at, you'll move it twice the velocity here. You get it? That's the rule. Can't work any other way. Has to come out that way. No options here. You can't escape the truth. So when you put matter in here, say 100 joules of energy of a drop, you drop a mass onto the lever here, close to the fulcrum. What you're going to get out here, if you can put an object that's light enough out here, okay, you're going to get twice the movement, twice the velocity that you created here. And that means that you're going to, you have no, there's just no option. And what will perfectly work is something that's half the mass. So if I put half the mass here, I'll just change the equation from 2, okay, times 1 velocity. And here it's going to be 1 times 2 velocity. And by your equation, your 1/2 mv squared says this does not equal that. Okay, they don't equal each other. This is 100 joules, then this is 200 joules. That's free energy. And it does balance this way. The balance works exactly like this. If I put a 1 mass here and I have a 2 mass here, any motion I create here will create twice the energy at this side. Twice the amount of velocity for half the mass, which will be twice as much energy. So obviously this is a free energy circumstance. There's no way of denying it. Again, this argument was made 300 years ago to dispute your religion, and they fell for it anyway. They ignored the facts, okay, and went with the show, the performance art, what the rich people said. Okay, they fell for a nonsense story. And the nonsense then was just mv squared. So it was a colossally wrong equation. It got very, very wrong answers. It says 100 joules here and 400 here. That's what this equation says. There's 4 times the energy coming up this side. That's how bad it was. And in the 1800s, they stuck a half in front of it to fix it. And they pretended it was Newton's formula, F equals ma, when A doesn't even equal anything. A isn't a number you can use. It's a rate. Doesn't do you much good until you turn the A into your momentum, the change in your momentum. But then you're going to multiply your mass twice, which would be don't do that. So I, again, pointed out, if the lever here moves the same distance as the lever here. So when you're equal distance, same distance. When you're further out, you move twice as much distance in the same time. Obviously, it's the same time, right? The lever doesn't bend. So you have no choice. If you put energy in here, you'll create energy here, and you can even make this thing lift off. And the fact is, yes, you can drop something from 1/4 of the height here, and it'll go 4 times higher here. So what? It's only in the gravity twice as long. And that's the key. That's everything. It's in the gravity only twice as long, and it's half the mass. Well, what's 2 times 1/2? Oh, that's right, it's 1 again. So it's exactly the same. So momentum creates no free energy. Kinetic energy does create free energy. And the most obvious way to see how it's crap is just do the opposite. Drop this with 200 joules, and you only get 100 joules out of here. So how could it possibly oscillate? How could it possibly be a balance if, well, you put the energy in here and you lose half of it on this side, and then you put the energy in here and you gain twice as much over here? That makes no logical sense. It fails this simple test until you answer this video, until you explain how anything I said about this lever is incorrect. You have no argument. Yours is a free energy formula. This creates free energy using this simple device. Fact. Unrefuted, undisputed, okay? Because it can't be disputed. Because it's so simple, and it's so obvious, and it's so frickin' true. And we use it every day, and it happens every day, with every kind of scale you can use, where you're using a lever to do these balances. You're creating free energy. It's happening by your own theory. And clearly we can't exploit it somehow. And there's no reason why we couldn't exploit it. So it's just doesn't be, the truth is it doesn't exist, and it's just a fable. Your fake energy going in, your fake energy coming out, your fake energy going in, your fake energy coming out. You've got fake numbers. They're not real numbers. The real numbers are just mass and velocity. It was right 300 years ago, 350 years ago. It was right for Galileo, Descartes, and Newton. Got right answers using momentum, and for no good reason besides religion, obnoxiousness, tradition. You want to prop up other nonsense theories, so you can't let any of the theories be disputed, or you'll have to accept the fact that maybe some of these other wacky theories are also bullshit. Whatever the fear is, but you're obnoxious to the truth. You're obnoxious to the facts. You don't care about the truth. You don't care about the facts. You just care about defending silly notions because they're part of your scientific religion. And you're obnoxious and belligerent and rude and stupid. Okay, and I have no obligation to respect your stupidity, your belligerent, obnoxious stupidity, your denial of fundamental facts, undisputable facts. All right, that's enough. Yeah, that's it. Been over it. I'm done with it. I'll just reference the lever argument and say, until you account for it, you have nothing. You can't make an argument against anybody else until you explain how your theory could possibly be true. And we can't exploit the free energy a lever creates? Come on. It's just pathetic. Your denials, your objections, your slanders, it's just pathetic. All right, this has been a DraftPhysics.com video presentation. Yeah. To who? Do any of you have a glimmer of a brain that works? A glimmer of integrity? A glimmer of honesty? How long are you going to be dishonest? How long are you going to resist an obvious truth? You made some bad choices 300 years ago. Fess up, fix it.